Hello, this is Virtuals the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. When I play with the black pieces, I often end up playing against the Italian, specifically the Guaco Piano lines. This is as I usually respond to e4 with e5. I've mentioned before that I often feel a bit uncomfortable with the positional games of the main lines of the Guaco Piano or the Guaco Pianissimo when playing black. I just find that my opponent with the white pieces usually knows the theory better than me. Recently, I've been trying to shake things up a bit by playing some moves that, while not optimal, might take my opponent outside of their comfort zone. In this game, I attacked my opponent's pieces with my kingside pawns and then aimed to castle queenside. And it actually worked really well. It led to a really fun game, and that's what matters. Please enjoy! All right, let's start with a quick look at the review. This is chess.com's algorithm, and I played okay, I suppose, around 77%, opponent pretty close, 72.2. And as you can see, we sort of was pretty equal with the opening and the early part of the mid game. And some of my moves, which I think was unexpected for the opponent, led to me being quite a bit ahead. And then a blunder, that's that one blunder on my part led to the opponent being way ahead. And then, a series of, chop and chaining moves where we both made some inaccurate moves in the end game where both of us could have won, but eventually I came out ahead. So we both had sort of a mix of some pretty good moves, some inaccuracies, and also some blunders as well. Though, as with the accuracy, I did play a little bit more accurately than my opponent. Let's move on now to the analysis. So I played with the black pieces, opponent white, and as expected, given this is going to be a Guaco Piano game, opponent led with e4. I generally respond with e5, knight f3, knight c6, so the Italian, bishop c4, bishop c5, very, very normal. And so that was Italian, Guaco Piano, and this is the Pianissimo, or the very quiet game. I developed my other knight to f6. Opponent expectantly developed bishop g5, attempting to pin that knight to my queen. And here I thought I will play in an aggressive way. I think that just fits my style better, and it's a little bit maybe a little bit less expected for people who like playing the piano, the Guaco Piano, Guaco Pianissimo. So straight up attack that bishop, so with h6. So quite normal, sort of to sort of retreat the bishop to h4, and now immediately g5. So attacking the bishop again. Now, this move basically commits me to not castling kingside because I seriously weaken the defense of the king if I'm going to castle on that side. Opponent now plays bishop g3, which makes a lot of sense. Now, two attackers sort of on that e5 pawn, so definitely need to play d6 with a defender. So this sequence of moves does see a little bit of advantage to white, but it's not much of an advantage. 0.0, so positive 0.32, so only a very slight advantage, practically equal. The sort of advantage that you could lose with a single mistake. They play h3, and yep, that was there's a mistake already, as you can see. I suppose they're trying to block my bishop move, but that's okay. Here, I decide to play queen e7, and that was good. And basically, the idea is I want to potentially castle queen side. And here, after this move, I was planning on probably moving bishop to e6 and maybe having a trade of bishops. So that's what I did. So very equal at the moment. So pretty happy with that. Whack, whack. Queen is now activated as well. And this is looking pretty good. So potentially attacking here doesn't work after sort of long castling. And this knight is kind of in the wrong place. Opponent plays a3. Here I thought that I would sort of attack that bishop directly. I did consider this move to directly attack this knight as well, but I thought I would move that move there first. Now the opponent sort of retreats bishop to h2, which I actually thought was fine, but apparently Stockfish didn't like that move. And I considered, jamming that square with my knight, defended. However, I sort of chickened out here and I thought that I would attack the other knight. And maybe that sort of lack of consistency playing on both sides lost me a little bit of the advantage. The opponent brings their knight back to c3, which I think is, no, I'm happy with that. Now I decide to play knight d4, so basically potentially sort of attacking that piece. Now I expected a capture, and now captured back with the pawn. So I was potentially pretty happy with that. Opponent now brings sort of knight d5, which I thought was fine. So potentially here is good for me. If you look at where that knight can go, it can go here, 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 and here. Yeah, so it's got a lot of squares, but most of the squares on my side of the territory are defended. So, yep, that's a good move for the opponent, but back to equality, I didn't think they had an advantage. I decide to pressure that knight right away with c6, so not letting go of sort of the attack. Knight now goes to b4, so now potentially another attack. And here, now the knight really doesn't have anywhere to go. Pretty much it needs to retreat back to that square. But, the first thing I decided to do was to, with the attack on the knight, obviously that knight was hanging as well, so bring that back, don't want to lose a knight. I like that I'm slightly ahead. Here, I played a5. Now, Stockfish thought that straight up attacking on the king side, now that the opponent has castled on the king side, so that the short castling would have been a better move. I saw that as well, but I thought I could just bump that knight because I thought they would be forced to move back. And basically here, that knight is practically in jail. So can't come here, can't come here. If it needs to do anything, has to go back all the way to c1. So I thought this was pretty good. So that knight is going to be in the middle of nowhere. Now I play g4. The opponent pushes that forward, which is, I suppose that's okay. I opt now to put the rook behind the pawn, the g pawn, so rook hg8. So Stockfish didn't like this. I don't know. I thought that was a fairly reasonable move. However, Stockfish thought that maybe I think they want a route potentially, so the bishop like that, maybe that would have been better. Now the opponent here makes a bad move, so you can see -3 now, because basically they've put that bishop now in jail. So that bishop can't go anywhere. It's pretty much stuck. So this knight is somewhat stuck. This bishop is completely stuck. So they've basically just taken 2 of their pieces out of the game. I thought that was pretty good for me. I played h5. So again, Stockfish thought that it would have been better to immediately attack in the center, but I thought this locked down the king side. I thought it was fine. King makes a move. That's fine, I suppose. I didn't see that did anything special. Obviously, they can't really move into that square. Here, I decide to push d5 with an attack. Sort of expected that. I thought I could just straight up capture. I didn't think that was a problem for me. Capture, yep, so they can't capture back. Yep, I expected them trying to move their queen forward. But however, I now have another pawn defending that knight. The opponent makes a good move. So rotating their knight needs to get it out of that square doing nothing. So that was a good move for the opponent. Here, I couldn't quite see what was the best move. I thought maybe moving the queen off that e-file, given that the rook is staring at it, was good. It was okay. Apparently, again, this might have been the better move. Opponent so makes another king move. So I'm quite a bit ahead now. Now I'm about to really stuff up. I bring an extra defender through the rook, so rook ge8. Opponent now plays knight e2, which was a good move. I now bring the bishop back. Now the opponent plays a very good move, knight f4, with an attack on the queen. Now here I make a blunder, a serious blunder. I thought that I could counterattack that queen and could enter sort of a queenless middle game. However, what I didn't see was I thought, when I was counting, I thought it was fine. But as we'll see, I miscounted. So here, capture, capture. My problem here was that I didn't see that that came with check. And because that comes with check, I basically lose a tempo. Forced to move my king. And so now I straight up am down one piece. So opponent is sort of plus 3.5 now. I thought I was still okay here. I thought I still potentially had a chance, given that bishop is sort of stuck at home, like, you know, stuck behind their pawns, not easy to get out at the moment. Will take several moves just to get out. The opponent now plays rook e1. I made this move, but then I realized afterwards, I probably should have just straight up taken it because, yep, that was expected. And now I end up doubling my pawns to get rid of, to mutually get rid of the rooks. So I'm quite a bit worse now. I could have been plus 3.5, so only down a bit. Now I'm down quite a lot, plus 11. I, however, still thought I had chances. My king was in the center of the board, so I thought that was good. I could whack that. That pawn had some chances. And here we go. Now, so their bishop is still not really activated. So finally activating. Now I'm rapidly trying to move my pawn up. And here we go. And now the opponent with my pawn all the way now on the second rank, forced to trade their bishop for a pawn. So that was potentially good. And now what I need to do is really try to protect that pawn. And here the opponent made a mistake. The opponent should have moved their pawn one square because that would sort of take it a little bit out of the way, and it would have been easier for their king to both attack my pawn and also defend their own pawn. But in doing so, I now had the opportunity to come here, so that and that becomes like a force field. So it sort of potentially sort of stops the opponent from being able to do both, to defend and attack. However, I missed it. I moved to the wrong square. So now plus 44. The opponent, however, makes the wrong move, and now minus 56. I now capture, and the reason why it's minus 56, minus 57, is that my king is closer. My king is just closer. There we go. So capture, and here we go. Now they're in trouble because there is no possible way their king can capture. They can do this, but now I am just faster. The opponent tries to protect their pawn, but in fact actually just hangs mate in one. So, but no, very good game. I had a lot of fun in this game, and all the way down to the end game, came up ahead, but easily could have lost. Good game with the opponent. GG. I was doing really well until the later part of the middle game, where I miscalculated a sequence of captures. I missed the fact that my opponent gained a tempo as they captured with check, resulting in me entering the endgame down a full piece. However, they didn't feel that full advantage as their extra piece, a bishop, was effectively stuck at home, and it took them several moves to get it out. Some inaccurate king and pawn moves in the endgame, as seen by the wildly fluctuating evaluation bar, eventually clinched to me the victory. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.